Nerd Person Shooter presents Talking While Stoned. Guys, my face is kinda numb right now with happiness and excitement. But also, we are going to talk about GameStop. Now, this isn't going to be neither a rant or me trying to defend GameStop that, they don't deserve everything that's coming to them. I just want to give my thoughts on what's been going on with that company. So, GameStop, as you know, is a physical games retailer. And, for the longest time, I've been a loyal customer of theirs, not because I generally defend their shady business practices, but I still buy games from them just because it's at least a place I can find slightly older games. Not older, but, slightly older, like, one or two generations ago. And of course, buying new games that are pre-owned for like, $5 or, whatever, less than the usual price. And I never really had an issue with like used PS4 or PS5 games being scratched up because they're pretty durable now. Same with PS3. Blu-rays hold up really well. Not so much like, DVDs or, Xbox 360 games. Anyway, I always relied on them when it came to buying games that I want to find physically or games that have just come out but I want to own them physically, so that in case, I want to sell it and actually get some of my money back um, after I finish it, or if I don't like it, I can do that. And I'll always be pro physical media. I have a whole hundreds worth of, DVD movies, on my shelves there alongside all my PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo games. And behind the camera here, I have basically half an entire shelf unit of Blu-rays. I am a huge physical media owner, but I am aware of the conveniences of digital gaming. You don't need to go out and drive into a blizzard or whatever and, severe weather, or have to worry about having proper transportation to buy games physically and then come back. Um, there are conveniences like not having to worry about the latest patch, digital games when you buy them. Like it installs whatever like the newest patch is. There are plenty of conveniences, when it comes to digital media. And to be honest, I probably do own more digital games than physical at this point. Um, but I will always love having the option of being able to buy games, and stores that still stores that are still around because there are old school or retro fans that they have for customers. Some of them are still around, but it is becoming more and more scarce. Maybe your city has a local game store that you rely on for, physical games. But when it comes to more rural places, like where I am in now, having most of the GameStops just close near me is kind of heartbreaking to me personally. GameStop just closed, like last month. They closed a ton of stores, like 400 and something stores across all states in the country. And, I just lost the two that I used to go to. And I think there is one more nearest to me, but it's in a town that I usually don't go to. Maybe I'll probably just go there once a month and find everything I'm interested in and just buy it all at once and do that every month. And plus, um, my $5 coupon until my last expiration, I think is like August, is when my GameStop Pro expires. I'm just gonna let it die. I'm not gonna renew it. I'll be done with GameStop forever after my subscription ends. But from this month to August, I am going to make one trip each time and use my $5. Just get the most out of my GameStop rewards account before I decide to end things with GameStop while I still can before they shut down for good. All of them. They're going to follow Blockbuster, okay? For obvious reasons. Most people have transitioned entirely to digital now. And so as a result, GameStop lost that much revenue over the past, decade or so that they've been declining down a slippery slope because less and less people are buying physically. I'm not speaking for myself. That's just a fact that I'm throwing out there. Um, and so, they've been making much less money. They've been having to close stores. And I'm just going to ask you guys this one question. How long do you think it's going to be until GameStop just either goes out of business or simply becomes a website, like an online store website? How long do you think their remaining stores, out there on the streets are going to exist? How much longer? A year? 2 years maybe? Because they also closed down even more stores like at the end of 2025. So the rate that we're going here, they might they're not going to make it to 2030. I was going to say they're not going to make it to 2027 or 2028, but it's a possibility that they can stay afloat for another 2 years. It's a possibility. But I can't see this lasting. They're going out physically anyway. They are closing down. And it sucks. Again, I'm not saying that this isn't undeserved because they also did other shitty things that were their fault. Like ripping off customers with their trade-in prices or not testing all their games, consoles, controllers, accessories, and just like being like, yeah, this is the market value. We're just gonna put this back on the shelf. Like there are no testing whatsoever. So when you get the game or get the console, the game is either too scratched up to fully install, like what I had happened to me a couple times, or your 360 gets the red ring of death 2 hours into your playtime with that console. That's not really a thing now because they don't resell 360s anymore. Although I did see an original Xbox the last time I was in that store before they closed it. There was like an original Xbox sitting in the display case near the other consoles, but there was like no power cables. There was no like video AV cables. Like I don't even know if there was I don't even think there was a controller. There was just like a lonely Xbox console with nothing else sitting in the display case in GameStop. I'm sure whoever traded that in got like $2 out of it. I think I ended up going online looking at it because there was no price tag in the store, but it said like $100, $100 for an original Xbox, but that included like everything, the controller, the cable, all the all the necessary components to actually play the console. Okay, a video game. But yeah, the GameStop, they haven't been the best in terms of like consumer practices and being pro-consumer. Um, but at the same time, I just don't want them gone, because they are a source of me being like, well, the disc is a little scratched up, but I'm risking it because I've been wanting to play this game for 15, 20 years, you know? And if it doesn't work, they do have a 7-day return policy on pre-owned items, so there was always that option for me in case it was crap or was broken or whatever. Um, but I just don't want to see GameStop go, man. Like, I have to drive. I don't really have to drive farther to this other location, but it's it's in a location that I have no other business being in. So I don't know. I guess if I really want to go to GameStop, I will go to the GameStop, the third GameStop, that the only one of the three that remained open in my area. So, ah, man. Is GameStop going out of business, or are they just gonna try a different model tactic like online or amiibos? I guess that's still a thing there. Or I don't know. How about like trading cards? Because trading cards are really fucking hot right now. And I think if GameStop started selling trading cards, it might be enough for them to reopen some of those stores in the long run, you know? So, maybe they won't sell games anymore, like video games anymore. Maybe they'll just sell like card games or, licensed board games or something. Like become like a pinball machines. I don't know. But I don't know. I guess this is just my way of saying this whole let's play or rant or question is just, maybe it's just my way of saying that I hate that physical media is becoming more and more scarce. Like Best Buy and Target getting rid of their movies, and so I guess this is me pleading in defense of GameStop just to have that source of older retail pickups. I'm sure there's more I want to talk about, but my mind is a little fried right now. Okay, right now I'm enjoying the vibe with the box fan hitting the back of my head, back there. Just blowing around the fumes. Blowing around the fumes. Oh, GameStop. I only trade games in now if they're like new games that are still like, 50 to 70 bucks. So that when I trade it, and it's still in demand, I actually get like almost half that money back, at least in trade. Whereas, with older games, like 360 games, they would give you $1 and then flip it for $15 just because it's a ripoff, but also they probably figure that it's going to take forever and ever and possibly never to resell, because it's a really old game. And they're like, look, this is the price it's going to be. It's sad. Every time we lose a game store getting games from and playing games from their outlets. I feel like that quote hits me more and more, that the world that we used to know no longer exists, or the world that we grew up with no longer exists. And to me personally, even though they kind of deserved it a little bit, GameStop was always a part of my childhood, or at least when I was a child, it was EB Games, and then GameStop sold out, most of them, even though there are still some EB games out there. Definitely none in my area. But yeah, GameStop, EB, Electronics Boutique, and I think even before Electronics Boutique, they were called Funko Land, which is where a lot of my family got like our Sega Genesis games from. Funko Land. You guys remember Funko Land? That's like a '90s only thing. Like if you didn't, if you're not in your 30s at least, you will not even know what I'm talking about. Um, but yeah, man, it sucks. But I guess this is the sign of the times. People are digital users now. But I mean, it's just like what happens if those sites shut down? What happens if those companies shut down? Where your license is gonna go? You know? So yeah, I will always be pro physical, and that's why these closures of GameStops, that still every once in a while you'll come across a gem or something rare and be like, holy shit, like I'm not gonna get this, I'm not gonna get the chance of buying this again. Stores like that are shutting down, because a lot of older games are no longer sold online either. That's the thing. Like Armored Core 4. I found Armored Core 4 there on the 360 for, I think it was like $27.99, but I used my $5 coupon for it, so it was $22.99. I got a somewhat rare 360 game that you won't really find that much out in the wild for only $23. Granted, I tried about an hour of it, and I fucking hate it, man. If this is what every Armored Core game is like, I do not like Armored Core. And I bought Armored Core 6 as well for like 30, so shit. But still, my point still stands that there's on a rare occasion where you're never gonna know what to find in like the older library that's in your local GameStop. You could find a diamond in the rough. You could find something that you've never seen before, and that's the magic of physical media. Is like going into like a really old, DVD store or a thrift store, even going through the DVDs or games and just finding something that should not belong there, but you're glad that it showed up there. You know what I mean? GameStop, in a little way, was kind of like that for me. So, yeah, fuck. Another loss for our physical fans, you know. So, if a GameStop is still in your area, regardless of what you think of them as a company, if you're in the mood for an older game or just want access to a game, or you want to buy a game physically that had just come out, I recommend you check out your GameStop before it's too late, because it's not looking good for them. They're just closing more and more while their CEO gets a larger fucking promotion or whatever. Your CEO gets a larger break or whatever they call it. Your CEO gets a bigger cut of the revenue or something. I don't know. I read something, and it sounded like the CEO was basically fucking selling out his own company, like for his own financial gain. Like this one guy is in control of like hundreds of thousands of everyone else's jobs just because he's a fucking billionaire and he owns this company, and it's just like, what the hell is going on up there? Like this fucking asshole is like closing most of his locations just to get more money. I don't know. I don't get it from a business, you know, Wall Street type fucking thing. I don't understand that aspect of it, but everything just screams rich, arrogant prick. Um, so yeah, guys. Anyway, that's my let's talk on GameStop. I am saddened a little bit, and I hope that all these games that they own go to someplace instead of, I don't know, are they gonna like throw away all those games? Where did they go? Give us the address so we can take them.